Now, as you guys know, Project Zomboid Update 42 is really chugging along, and in the latest blog post, we got a treasure trove of updates across a ton of different new features, and we're going to talk about it all in this video. If you guys don't know, I'm Sunny, the host of the channel Sunny Games, and now I'm here on Sunny Survival, this channel, and I'm ready to cover one of my favorite games of all time, Project Zomboid. So to start off, we got an update on something that I've been so excited about since they announced it earlier this month. The developer, I'm assuming his name's Turbo, has been said to be finalizing his machine and crafting station systems for a check-in this week, and they mentioned they wanted to maximize utility of this new system for both the developers themselves, including the modders. But why am I excited about this? So from what I understand, this new machine system kind of lends itself to setting things up like player shops in multiplayer. Now imagine setting up a ton of rare loot and then selling it off a vendor, which could actually be maybe a person instead of an actual machine. And then you got something that kind of reminded me of the old Star Wars Galaxies days when you used to run player shops, something that like in a post-apocalyptic game gets me so excited. There's going to be more systems in place over the tech tree across devices that already exist, like the gas stations, the water pumps, the wells, and a lot more. So this whole new machine and crafting station systems is really about to be like on another level, and I can't wait to see what the modders and the developers come up with to fully utilize all this. Then they transitioned into the tech upgrade portion, which is just more about the game tech and visuals, which is the underlining code. And they went on to mention the visibility polygon and working on the tile depth, which hopefully that means that they're going to remove character and wall clipping, and maybe one of the more exciting things, the ability to lie down and sit down in all four directions. And I feel like that's underrated, ladies and gents, because I mean, think about it. I know you can do that via mods, but I love that, and I guess I'm a simpleton. I get excited about the littlest things. Then they mentioned the engine upgrade to the game, which they've been pretty transparent about this for months now. They went on to give examples: doors not shaking when thumped, muzzle flashes now showing, railings not being cut away properly, rendering of Zeds on hidden floors not working, which I can attest to. That bug has been a nightmare for myself in some of my playthroughs, so I'm really happy to see that. Now, one thing that stood out in the recent update blog post was they mentioned that they've added 4 dev coders to the team and 2 multiplayer devoted testers who are hard at work on the multiplayer side of the game. Now, the 2 coders are devoted on bringing all player inventory and operations server side, and the other coders are working on multiplayer bugs and just the general polish, which I think sounds great. I personally haven't gotten into multiplayer yet, as I've wanted to not suck on single player so much, so this game being even more fleshed out with all these new additions in Build 42 is really exciting and making me really ready to dive into it. They also mentioned they are hooking up all the new Build 42 systems like the Revamp fishing and animals to the netcode to make sure it all works nice and seamless in multiplayer. So I have to really say that I'm looking forward to how all that plays out. Now, there were some smaller updates to the big pillars of Build 42. What was elaborated was the work on the soundscape improvements with an emphasis on gunshots. In this example though here that they showed, they have a barbecue hooked up and you can kind of hear the smoke in the background from what is being cooked, and then there's various sound effects like a wolf howling and birds in the background. Go ahead and take a listen to these audio clips. But the big thing, as I said, was firearms and working on improved firearms going off in different directions in relation to each other, how they sound indoors versus outdoors, even zombie voices. So when you're bitten by a dozen zombies, it doesn't sound all messed up and all distorted. And finally, animal noises are going to sound better over music and just other sound mechanics. And generally, the sentiment to all this is the audio mixing and mastering, and everything I'm mentioning is just that it just sounds improved and flows better, and the audio isn't sounding off in relation to other sounds going off in the background at the same time. And that's kind of what I gathered from all that, if any of that just made any sense. They're even including the sounds your character makes, from the sounds like of sneezing and saying hello, which I have to say, if that's something that gets passively added when your character is sick, we can go ahead and put that on the list of things that can get us killed even more, as you guys know. Finally, on the audio front, they said they're looking into recording more male and female voices by getting more actors and actresses involved. So guys, they're really putting out all the stops on just even the littlest details. With that, they've introduced something that I've wanted to see in the base game for so long now. That is new containers, but not just new containers. In this clip here, they're showing off crafting a makeshift one, which is amazing. And some of the other new containers are picnic baskets, garden baskets, fishing baskets, musical instrument cases, which I think those currently exist in the game, but we'll be able to use them as a normal container. As you can see here on the screen, here's a screenshot of how they look, and it's also in the video here in this clip as as well with the barbecue. But really, the improved sheet sling bag that they crafted, I think gets me honestly the most excited, because I personally love starting new characters, and of course it can be a pain to find a good bag at the start of the game. So I love that this is going to be a thing now. And again, I know this can be done via mods, but I love that the base game is going to have this. There's also new sheriff and SWAT versions of the duffel bags, protective cases, rifle cases, Alice belts, and suspender webbing. They also have some things noticed in this clip here I wanted to showcase that I thought was kind of new here, was that first aid kit that we've never seen before, and what looks like some big black cases in the back as well. So if you played this game for any sort of decent amount of time, you really know how important containers are, and of course your own bag in your backpack or whatever. This got me really excited seeing that crafted bag more than anything. But again, as I said earlier, man, I'm a simpleton that gets excited by the simplest things. Then they also went on to talk about the continued farming revamp improvements, more specifically the really nitty gritty. And I don't know about you guys, but the current farming system obviously leaves much to be desired. But man, we are really about to embark on Stardew Valley levels here, surrounded by zombies in a post-apocalyptic game in Project Zomboid. It really does get me pumped. They also mentioned working on systems for fertilizing, compost, and pest, then optimizing it, rebalancing it, constituting and simplifying the entire farming system, which I really like, because already all of this sounds so complicated. I'm definitely not a farmer, so I love it. Who knew that, like, playing this game, you're about to learn how to farm in real life playing Project Zomboid. Then they went on to say they're figuring out what crops the art team is going to finish out making, and finally scarecrows looking more legit and more like scarecrows. So cool to see that. Now, I found this funny because they put one line in the blog post and it says wallpapering and mentions of coding for a highly requested feature to fully wash grime from the walls. And in the video they show, you can see them putting in the wallpaper and the stuff that makes the wallpaper stick to the wall. And I think, and I'm sorry YouTube community, but I'm not well versed in how to plaster stuff to walls, but it made me chuckle because talking about farming just seconds ago, now it's like, okay, I'm gonna learn how to wallpaper now playing Project Zomboid, and that just makes me laugh. I love it. Now, another aspect that was talked about is new tools for managing script assets, which I think basically means just better tools for modders. They go on to mention utility, which exports items display names from their scripts to new translation files for those items if they don't already have one. They also mentioned they've built an internal tool for the sound team to notice events that haven't been hooked up or new things that don't have sounds attached to them. Now, I'm not a modder and this stuff flies over my head a bit, obviously, as I'm talking about it, but let me know in the comments, are these new tools something that could greatly help you modders out there? I'm very interested, and maybe you guys can kind of educate me a little bit. Now, a huge aspect coming to Build 42, if you haven't heard, is map expansion, which they started going into the first round of testing just weeks ago as shown here. But what's also coming with this map expansion is more fleshed out way of handling all the different features and things you run into on a map this big. So for example, they showcase this map here and they highlight the colors and how the different colors will mean different things. So the light greeny blue colors are crop fields, the light green is forest, dark green is deep forest, blue is navigation, which means the various roads, purplish is the town areas, and blue squares are the new animal zones. And then the tiny dots means parking stalls for cars to spawn, and yellow is going to be vegetation. They also mention certain colors will designate different events, which means spawning certain zombie types. And what I kind of gather from that is the current system where if you kind of run into a police station, we do get some police zombies, right? So my guess is this is going to be even more elaborate, more on point, which, I mean, my goodness, the map is going to get bigger and it's going to be a lot more accurate in regards to what animals we see and where. And then of course the zombie types actually spawning the correct Zeds, which equals if you're looking for a specific tool or item in a designated area, it's going to be a lot more consistent. So I'm really happy to see that. Finally, the last thing, they are hiring for more people as they have more big future updates in mind other than update 42, which is why they're hiring. So again, great stuff. Now, overall, we got a massive update this past week, and guys, I don't know what else to say, man. Like, my body is just ready for this update. Stay tuned to this channel. I'm Sunny, and we're gonna have a lot more coming here in the future, so make sure you subscribe and like.